Everyone, welcome to today's event on Texas infrastructure. Today we're going to be interviewing some really unbelievable pioneers and guys who are really shaping the infrastructure of Texas and what happens and what our future looks like and how we're moving product around, logistics, so on and so forth. Due to the fact we have only a very short, limited time, we're not going to go around and do introductions. We're just going to kind of dive right into the subject itself. I am not an expert on any of this stuff. I normally speak on very boring commercial real estate forums, Ian as well. So I tried to be like the cool hipster today, and I put on a T-shirt, and some Jordans to try to fit in on this AI and autonomous vehicle world that we're about to talk about. So with all that being said, we're probably just going to go down the row here a little bit, and everybody will tell you a little bit about themselves and what their company is doing as we move into this next phase of autonomy throughout the state of Texas. So Darran, you want to start off?
Sure. My role is I'm the Director of Strategy and Innovation for the Texas Department of Transportation, so TxDOT. And I guess the main function that I serve is a facilitator of businesses that are coming in the state, whatever an emerging technology is that relates to mobility, and that could be anything from the data to actual physical infrastructure or operations of a particular company. And in concert with the legislature and our governor and lieutenant governor's office to find opportunity for them and match them up with community needs across the state, or in our case with needs within the department, and then advance that both safely and efficiently and ideally successfully for the businesses that come to the state.
Meelis.
Yeah, hi. My name is Meelis Anton. I'm heading the operations of Acclaim, an autonomous delivery company here in the States. We established ourselves in Texas beginning of last year, and the reason for us coming here and why we're at the YTexas event is that really the environment for autonomous technology here in Texas is really supportive of us. So when it comes to legislation, when it comes to businesses and local communities wanting to work in this field together with us, so we found a really great home here. And in short, what we do is that we are making software and hardware for autonomous deliveries in last mile context. So we are delivering pizzas, packages, hot food, whatever you need in your neighborhood. So that's what we do.
Chris Nielson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Electric Cab North America, also known as ECAB. We were the very first in electric microtransit anywhere in the country. Our headquarters is in Austin, Texas, and we're announcing today that we're going to be deploying 1,000 GEM low-speed vehicle units to help out with rural mobility in Central Texas.
And I am the last boring real estate guy on this panel. My name's Ian Kinne. I work for a company called Hillwood. We're the developer behind Alliance, Texas, a 30,000-acre master plan project in the northwestern part of DFW. We have been on a journey since 2017, really to understand innovation and how it will impact our core business of industrial real estate development, with the core thesis that essentially, as mobility evolves, whether it's electric, hydrogen, autonomous, aerial, whatever it might be, those trips will start and end at a building, and many of those are buildings that we own or control. And then also just the statement that we'd rather be a leader in this space rather than a follower. And so since then, my role has really been focused on attracting and working with mobility technology companies, and I lead our mobility zone effort here in North Texas. So thanks.
Awesome. So let's take a little bit deeper dive on kind of like what exactly each one of y'all's companies specifically are kind of doing to change the mobility, autonomous vehicles, logistics, getting products to and from our customers, and where you see that going, what the future holds, and kind of, we talked a lot about this. I mean, a lot of people want to know, like, when are they going to see these self-driving vehicles? When are we going to start seeing more drone delivery type stuff? So, Darran, you're obviously in the planning world with being in TxDOT, so you're talking to a lot of these folks. I mean, tell me a little bit about kind of what do you see the future of Texas, look like?
Oh, it's multifaceted. So to answer the question, I mean, autonomy is now. This state is one of the leading, if not the leading state for autonomous systems, and truly electrification is right there with it, as well as connected and intelligent infrastructure. The department ourselves, along with all our transportation partners across the state, are focused on all those areas, emerging tech, and I didn't mention drones as well. So what do I see 5-10 years from now? I think we're going to have a statewide initial backbone of intelligent infrastructure, probably along our highways, that further enables autonomous systems on the highways and out to the arterials of the state, as well as drone. One of the biggest limitations of drone operations right now is the ability to go beyond line of sight. And if the communication infrastructure is in place to enable that, then you can see package delivery and other use cases for drones to greatly extend itself. And DPS is here today talking about that as well. We've got the autonomous vehicle market here, and it ranges from delivery all the way up to 18-wheeler freight, and passenger service is happening in the States, and number of applications in several cities across the state already. And then, like was said, the electrification component, I mean, that's a great announcement. It's really going to serve a lot of community needs that aren't being addressed right now, that may be lacking in types of transit systems or last mile mobility, and so it's a huge advancement, and I think it's going to proliferate across the state. And you already see similar activities up in Alliance, Texas, and they're kind of a hotbed for advanced freight mobility and other applications, and extending that into neighborhoods that surround them. So just huge advancement across a number of fronts.
Thanks for that, Darran. Meelis, let's just kind of dig in a little bit more specifically about your company, kind of what you guys are doing, and how you're going to impact the logistics world here in Texas and beyond here in the future. So just dig a little bit more.
Yeah. So getting into the more weeds of it, we also really see, as Darran said, that the infrastructure is crucial also for the last mile deliveries. So when we are delivering currently in small city called Northlake here in DFW, and starting out from there, showcasing that how the goods transportation, both to the consumer and then returns, for example, back from the consumer to the central location, how they are working. So we are building out a template and showcasing that how the communities can take advantage of this technology. And then some items coming out from there are, for example, where you are staging this technology, where you have the supporting infrastructure, for example, charging, but mostly we are seeing that it's not just one size fits all. So we are part of the ecosystem. So there are multiple companies who are catering to various small niches, but we're all in the same boat, so spreading the message. And this is the really important mission for us, is to showcase how it's done. We're doing it already. What the applications can be. It's not just tied to 1-2 things, but the community has a lot of needs, and when they see it in small baby steps, that how the technology can help them, then they're willing to get also into more, let's call it complex use cases. So initially starting with food, but then we get into medicine, medical supplies, things like that. So the important part is get going, and we really appreciate the opportunity here, and the willingness of the communities, and working together with Alliance Texas, also really showcasing what's possible today, and build together for the solutions which are coming up in the near future.
So speaking of the near future, Meelis, I mean, so right now you just mentioned North Lake. So y'all are testing, kind of rolling that out into the North Lake community as we speak, and then what would you say the next, 2 to 3, 5 years look like, ideally? And I get that that's a loaded question, but if you had to paint the picture, what does it look like for your company?
Down the road for 3 to 5 years, we are really envisioning that we'll be having thousands, a little bit over 10,000 of our robots on the roads doing exactly these types of deliveries. Because when you take one community and the volume which we see, we can have multiple of these robots driving around in the community. So just think about in the morning doing breakfast delivery, during daytime doing package delivery, in the afternoon you want to have dinner, and all these things that are supportive of taking other large transportation vans, for example. You don't need to have them running constantly there. You can have smaller and more energy efficient transportation means driving around. So we definitely see that building a template and copying it to the other neighborhoods is the important way to go. And there are lots of these communities here in DFW to start from, and not taking into consideration the other cities and areas of Austin, or like Austin and Houston.
That's awesome, and that's super exciting to just hear, what's coming in the future. And with that said, Chris, you guys were the first, in the electric cab world, and you just mentioned kind of a large announcement in that front. Would you dive a little bit deeper into kind of what y'all are doing and how you're impacting some of these communities, and where you see your company continuing to grow and expand, within Texas?
So we started in Austin 15 years ago, just moving people around the entertainment district between hotels and venues, and we thought that was our market. And then COVID happened. We lost most of our fleet, and the only thing that kept us going was a rural mobility grant. By the way, this is how you can tell a native Texan how we say rural. But so we got a grant to go work out in Bastrop, and that's a town of 9,000. It's about 30 miles east of Austin, and within a year, we started moving 10,000 people a year. That's more people than live in Bastrop. So the demand was immediate. We did no marketing. We just went out and started buzzing around, and word of mouth is what really got us the traction. And we're working in tandem with Capital Area Rural Transit, and we provide the last mile journey from whenever they bring people in from the outlying communities into town. We're literally bringing grandma to the grocery store and to H-E-B and really just to go out and get something to eat. And we're giving them opportunities they didn't have before. So there's a massive need for mass transit in these smaller communities, and the communities don't have the funds to start up their own giant mass transit service with large overhead, and there's going to be a lot of CapEx involved too. So we're able to deploy in any small community. I'm from Lockhart, Texas. I grew up in a small community. I know what these needs are. And
good barbecue too.
Yeah.
Those are my cousins. But and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to deploy 1,000 of these units all throughout Central Texas. And now that we have the model and the template to do it with, it's going to be pretty easy to do.
So how many cities currently, Chris, are you guys operating in, and where are all the new vehicles being launched, and where do you see your company within the next kind of 3 and 5 years within Texas?
So right now we're in Austin, we're in Bastrop, and we're in San Marcos. But we're going to expand into Lockhart. We'll be in Round Rock. We're going to be in Leander, Georgetown. I'm talking to UTSA in San Antonio next Tuesday. So that's the next big metropolitan area. But I think between San Antonio and Waco is what we're going to be focusing on primarily between in the next 5 years. But what I see the next year is just really just getting the vehicles deployed. It's going to take us a while to get staff trained up and to get the infrastructure in place. And then year 2 is whenever we're really going to start expanding exponentially.
And Chris, are these vehicles are all electric, obviously, but is autonomy part of the future too?
It is, but we have a different take on autonomy. We don't want the vehicles completely driving themselves, but whenever we have like high volume traffic that's, say, getting off of a Cap Metro train, what we have is a technology called Follow Me. And what that is you have a lead vehicle with a human driver, and we can have up to 3 of our units that can follow it. And our CTO, that's about as much as I can speak on it, but I can put you in touch with our CTO. They can.
I wouldn't know what to ask him either. Yeah, it's way above my pay grade. Thanks for that, Chris. That's exciting stuff. Ian, my commercial real estate buddy, tell me more about, obviously Ross Perot is one of the biggest pioneers that this state has ever had, and you're fortunate to be part of that incredible organization. And tell us a little bit about how Hillwood is embracing technology within your parks, the future, autonomy, and innovation.
Yeah, happy to. So when you think about Perot and really genesis of the company, I mean, really the Perot legacy is that of innovation. It's that of technology. And real estate's a relatively big part of the story, but still it started with technology and innovation and that innate curiosity. And that's something that's ingrained in our culture. And as a company, we're asked consistently to, think around not just the next 5 years, but really what's the next 15, 20, 30 years. The good and bad thing about Hillwood and the way we're set up, especially in Alliance, Texas, is that we are not a merchant development company in Alliance. In Alliance, we are a long-term holding company that has a lot of land, and we have to think about how we're going to develop that for 30 years. So the way we think about infrastructure is dramatically different than most companies. We work hand in hand often with Darran and his team at TxDOT, as well as many others to think about transportation infrastructure. And a big part of that is defining what the future of transportation looks like. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I can predict the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think any of us can. But what we can say is that, we know things are changing, and we want to provide a product to our customers that is ready for that change. So that means more power at the buildings to do charging if you need to. That means access to hydrogen in the area if you want to do hydrogen fueling for your vehicles. And it also means incredibly robust fiber and 5G throughout our project. So it's very conventional infrastructure that is just a significantly higher need. And really, like I mentioned, we started on this. Really, my work was a lot of work with long-haul autonomy, so long-haul trucking companies. Kind of to Darren's point, North Texas has really become the hotbed for long-haul autonomy. There's probably about 7 different long-haul autonomous companies here in North Texas, many of which are within Alliance Texas buildings. And they're operating every single day here in North Texas. The original route they were doing was Houston to Dallas and Dallas to Houston, back and forth doing that. But really the value case for a long haul is when you get over 500 miles. So the new corridor that a lot of them are focusing on is Fort Worth to El Paso. And you might drive by an autonomous truck and have zero idea that's autonomous. Really the only thing that looks different about it is the sensor stack or the brow on the top of it, and maybe a LiDAR that looks like an extra mirror. So it's pretty incredible what's happening right now, all with safety drivers in the cab, just in case. But these guys are doing consistent loads every single day. And so we think that the movement of freight is going to change. It's not going to be autonomy for everything in the next 5 years. Just you can't manufacture enough trucks and you can't get enough scale to really meet that. I don't think you even really notice a change in the next 5 years. But when you think about the compounding effect over time, I think it's going to be a dramatic shift over time. Also, like we talked about, we're seeing a lot more electrification, especially on the last mile delivery vehicles, like what Meelis is doing with his company Clevon in North Texas. But also, we all saw about Rivian and Amazon. We were a very large development partner for Amazon. Having a master plan, how you get power to those sites to power a bunch of Rivian vans, that's going to be kind of the standard MO, I think, going forward for not just Amazon, but a lot of other big shippers as well. So we're thinking about a lot.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where do you want to dive in?
They might do rocket ships out of there very soon.
I talked to a rocket ship guy last night, actually.
Look at there. Thank you, Ian.
Pretty fiery conversation.
That was great. A lot of the talk around autonomous stuff, there's some negativity about it, a little bit about it taking, human jobs. Any of you guys want to kind of chime in a little bit about what's really, how AI is affecting the future, but how much we actually need it?
Yeah, so I'm happy to jump on this, but these guys will have opinions as well. And I think, one, you can point to anytime there's been dramatic technology innovation in the U.S. and really the world, there hasn't been a loss of jobs. That's first and foremost. There's also a very pressing matter of my generation doesn't want to do these jobs anymore. I can say that because I am a millennial, but we don't want to sit in a cab. I know, thanks. At least I'm not a Gen Z. They or whatever
Gen
the youngest one
X,
is.
I mean,
Come on, guys. I don't even have a TikTok, but you think about we don't want to sit in a cab. We don't want to be out in the cold. We want to be in a normal job. I mean, there's certainly exceptions to that, but it's becoming harder and harder for a lot of these companies to hire for their jobs that they need to operate their businesses. A lot of times it's not a matter of if I get to implement autonomy, it is a matter of need. If I don't do this, my business will not be able to operate. That's a pretty consistent story we hear across warehousing sector specifically, also logistics. The world is changing and they can't hire. And so how do I do that? Technology is one solution. It is by no means end all be all. I think we're very aware of that, but I think it's one solution to a much broader issue.
And I can continue on that one. So when it comes to warehousing and how the items which are delivered to people, how it's staged, that's currently where a lot of automation is happening, and in the warehouses has been already for years. So what we see and hear in the last mile delivery is that when the problems, let's call it so, the difficult problems in the warehousing and then how to put together the packages in an autonomous or with robots, that's really when the need for the next step, really to make the chain end-to-end in an automated way. When that happens, then the real need for the last mile, as an example, autonomy will be happening. And then similar way, what we see that, and the question which we get quite frequently is that, what about the jobs? But when you think back to the jobs which were 10, 15 years ago and what are now, a lot of them were not, people were even not thinking about these jobs which are currently where there's demand for. So we can be quite sure that in the next 5, 10, 15 years, the trend is the same. And as Ian mentioned, that really this type of mundane jobs, if we can automate this one, we can really help people do the things which are more interesting and add value. Then the important part there is that the amount of goods which are being transported around or which people are expecting at their homes, it's not going down. The last few years have really emphasized that people are ordering things as most. I think that if I would ask here who is not ordering online, we wouldn't see almost any hands here. So the demand is continuing, and we're just helping with the upstream of the volumes. The automation helps there.
Can I just jump on that real quick?
Absolutely.
So the workforce development question is always about autonomy. People always fixate on, the autonomous systems are going to take away driver, but the entirety of the system of systems, the environment that we're talking about includes intelligent infrastructure, drone operations, data environments, and you start looking at that. It requires both college degrees and a lot of certifications, even if you don't go to college, that address things like digital twinning and how do you build 3D synthetic environments? How do you have cybersecurity and privacy concerns addressed? What is the future of drone operations or advanced air mobility? So there's a huge burgeoning industry of job opportunities that aren't even identified yet, that I think in a lot of ways we need to get with the colleges, we need to get with the academies that develop certifications and get them focused on what's next as opposed to just solving for what's now. And I would even say, as you hear from the concerns of the trucking industry, the associations related to the trucking industry have themselves said that they project out the next couple of decades a 40 to 50% driver shortage. So before they can ever be touched in many ways in human-operated jobs, we got to fill a 40 to 50% shortage of logistics capability in the U.S. And with that comes supply chain management and all the things that Hillwood and these people represent, and electrificate the entirety of building out the grid to service an electric capability is on the cusp of happening. So there's a lot of job opportunity that relates to these technologies before there's concerns about what might go away.
I 100% agree. I mean, I wrote an article in D Magazine about a month ago just talking about how hard labor is now for every corporation, and how my business model has changed in helping companies select their warehouses and manufacturing facilities to completely being labor focused versus economic focused. What areas of DFW have the strongest labor where I can get those people to my warehouse so that I can operate my business. And I see autonomy as, like everybody else has chimed in, as this is a complement. This is helping in massive ways because we truly have a labor shortage. And we're in Texas, there's a lot of other states that are way worse off than we are from a labor perspective. And so, AI is the future, and I believe that it's just going to help continue to move us forward, and there's going to be a ton of jobs that are spurring off of this wave. We only have about 5 more minutes here, so what I was going to try to do is, if anybody has a question that they'd like to ask, raise their hand, and we'll try to get one of these smart gentlemen up here, not named me, to answer. Yes, sir. So the question is, what can rural areas of Texas do to kind of prepare for this next wave? Chris, you'd probably be the most suited here.
All you have to do is call me. If you have 110 outlets and parking location, that's literally all you have to do. We can set it up.
So so his company has options. We facilitate. We have an innovation alliance at TxDOT that any city can be a member of, where we try to help you find opportunity. What are your community challenges, and help you describe that so that industry can solve for it and make those partnerships happen. So there's a lot of opportunities that I think we could help you with.
Chris, how can I invest in your company?
We are raising capital.
There we go. Yes, ma'am.
So I am Stacy, and I work with a lot of single parents and marginalized families here in Dallas, and then some down in Houston. And I would just love to hear how you guys are working not only for flexible jobs for single parents and things like that, but also solutions that may help their kids grow into bigger and better roles than maybe they were handed down in previous economic areas.
I think Darran had a great comment earlier talking about how the workforce is changing to really, it's not just a, some of the jobs that might be available to kids that didn't have the same, opportunities growing up. I think it certainly, a lot of these opportunities are wider, and there's a huge pool of new and kind of future development. I think something that we are very focused on in Alliance is working with Tarrant County College, as well as some of the other schools in our area to really define that curriculum. But even more importantly, we start now at the K through 12 level working with these schools, and there's some fantastic school districts here in the area where groups like Clevon can come and show them what they do. And we have a program called Student Influencers that takes Northwest ISD, Keller ISD, Saginaw, Eagle Mountain Saginaw, and one other, and takes students from that and puts them through a program that shows them new technology at work, or what logistics actually looks like. And I think a lot of that is very eye-opening for a lot of these students, because, I grew up in Keller, and I had no idea that a lot of these jobs existed. And quite frankly, the job that I do now, I don't think I could have figured out I'd ever do that. But I think a lot of it is just what's out there and defining kind of what the vision might look like.
When it comes to robotics and working on autonomy, then really these jobs, when it comes to AI, machine learning, and also robotics people, these are whom we are employing and whom we are looking for. And just as a context, that originally we're coming from Europe and from Estonia, and we had to set up our own university. So our company runs an own university with the university program in order to train these applied sciences for exactly these type of needs that our sector needs. And we've had conversations with a number of other countries also outside from Europe that who are interested in how to set it up, because as Darran also mentioned, working closely together with the companies and the universities, that's in these discussions where you can lay out that what down the road is needed by the companies.
And I wanted to jump onto that really quickly. Is there is a massive shortage, and you talk to anyone with a Tesla and ask them how long it takes to repair that vehicle, and after they put the money in the swear jar, you're going to hear it's a couple of weeks at least. There is a massive shortage of technicians that are qualified to service, repair, and even build electric vehicles, at least in Texas. Yesterday, before I drove up here, I literally had to go reflash a controller on one of my vehicles because our tech was already busy. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, and you can speak way more intelligently than me on this, but so much of that that maintenance for electric vehicles is really more of a data problem. There's a lot of data that goes into that. It's some basic skills like Excel. Understanding how to work Excel and actually how to do data uploads and downloads and refresh software systems. So significantly, even though you're still a mechanic, it's a different operation than what traditionally an ICE or a combustion engine mechanic would be doing, or even a diesel tech. It's a just different kind of skill set entirely.
Electricians to build out the grid that not only services our needs but the state's needs. A number of certifications similar to that, as they've already hit, technicians in that area. We're always looking for more civil engineers from across all universities, but also, it's every type of function that you would think a normal business would have. Finance, HR, all those types of functions. We have starting positions, and we know that in a lot of ways we provide an avenue for work that then goes out to business, and we're happy to do that because a lot of times they come back to us later. So, I didn't even look at TxDOT. 30 years into my other career is the first time I ever considered looking at TxDOT, and now I've been there almost 10 years and haven't looked back. So, I think that's, a lot of opportunity there to come to us as well.
Yeah, with a broad stroke brush here, I'm a guy who meets with a bunch of clients that are in almost every single industry that occupies a warehouse. And I don't meet with one CEO or director of operations who doesn't discuss the problem with finding good labor. Right now, just good people are hard to find. It really doesn't matter the industry. It's a broad stroke. We'll do one more question. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for being here. I am a very opinionated person. I appreciate you guys being here, but I'm going to push back a little bit and offer some information because I was just at a conference called Latitude last week in Miami, where I learned just a ton about the growing demographic of the Latinos living in the United States. And I just want to read something to you because I don't believe that there is a labor shortage. I don't think there is a shortage of talent. I just don't think companies are doing enough to find the right people. DeBiscuit Career High School, the high school that I graduated from, is here at this event. They do a really good job of partnering with companies to try to, educate the students on what jobs are available. I have a background in supply chain, and I help companies, distribution companies, manufacturing companies find the right technology. Very niche market, and I feel like I have to go out of my way to figure it out and find these kinds of jobs, but it's an access thing and it's an education thing, and I really believe that companies need to do more to try to find people where they are, and I want to share with you just a couple of stats that are just mind-blowing. So I learned that the U.S. Latinos, if they were a country in the United States, they would be considered the 5th largest globally at $3.2 trillion. They are the third fastest growing economy right after China and India. That is a huge impact that the US Latinos have in the United States. We're also 1 in 5 Latinos. 1 in 5 people here in the United States are Latino. We're younger than the average, person. So what are you doing? I guess this is food for thought. What are you doing to try to reach that demographic? Because they're earning engineering degrees. They're up 65%. There's so much talent. So I don't buy the idea of there's not enough talent. There's definitely enough talent.
I am not an expert in the education world, nor what companies are doing to find people. I can just tell you, just from my experience in meeting with C-level executives in all different industries, that labor is really tough. I'm very well aware of the growing Latino population. I grew up 5 miles from Mexico in a little town called Mission, which is right next to McAllen in deep South Texas. So I'm certainly familiar with the importance of Mexico. If anybody wants to figure out, watch Peter Zehan's deal on the importance of Mexico over the next 25 years. It's mind-blowing. Just Google it on YouTube. But it talks about how they're going to be our biggest trading partner in the near future, and it all goes back to labor and having access to all those people. If you want my honest opinion, because everybody knows I'm a straight shooter, our immigration system is freaking broken, right? That's the problem with getting a lot of these people into jobs. That's a whole day's discussion about what needs to happen in DC. But that would be the first step to me to help fixing some of the labor problem. Is we've got to fix our immigration problem in this country. If you come here and you're a hard worker and you are a good person, let's get you to work, right? That's the problem we have. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in.
I think communication is a challenge, right? It is why we're here, though. So you're hearing. And so we've reached you today, which I think is a positive move forward. And it's the same reason we're going to be out on the floor talking to those schools, because we are, I think, as a whole, and several other industry people I work with, are trying to reach into high school and lower and let them know we're here and give them the opportunity. But it's a learning experience for us as well. We didn't have to do that necessarily before, but now we're all fighting each other over filling slots. So we've got to figure a better way to let and others know where we're what you can do with us.
Access to the future is just, it's literally access, right? You just have to have exposure to things. I was not the smartest kid growing up. My parents lived paycheck to paycheck, but I figured out if I talked to enough people and just got out there and made it happen, I could be a guy sitting on this stage talking to you guys someday, right? So it's just exposure to things. And if you're a motivated young person, I would tell you to get out here in this audience and talk to as many people that are in the business world as possible. And at the end of the day, if you shake enough hands, doors will open up for you and there'll be opportunity for you. I spend so much time mentoring people that reach out to me just off of LinkedIn, because somebody gave me opportunity 20 some odd years ago that changed my life. And so I try to help others, break into this industry or coach them and help them move forward with their life. So I just ask everybody in this audience, what's your legacy going to be? What impact are you going to have on this earth? That's what matters. So impact others in a positive manner, and we'll all be better for it.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.